Welcome to Hood Champion Boxing and Sports. In boxing, you find a way to win or you find a way to lose. Terrence Crawford and Earl Spence. Is this fight as important as Mayweather versus Judah for the culture of boxing, culture of hip-hop, and just overall for the culture? Now, this is the thing. When you look at Crawford and Spence, Judah and Mayweather, what you're dealing with here with guys who've won titles in multiple divisions. You're dealing with guys who are unified champions. And at the same time, you're also dealing with, like in Zab Judah's case, someone who lost to Baltimore before fighting Mayweather, which messed up the initial negotiation where they had to go back and renegotiate. But Crawford and Spence have not lost. But Spence did look a little vulnerable in this fight against Ugas, where Spence got buzzed. And Crawford, in my opinion, didn't look that spectacular in the first few rounds against Evanescent. So to me, that brings a little bit of suspense to the fight. But when we talk about for the culture, I remember when Zab Judah and Floyd Mayweather, I remember when that fight got announced. And I just remember the buzz across all my peers, and back then I was really into, what's going on with hip hop and all that, man. Now I don't get caught up in that. But I'm gonna tell you, everybody was talking about that fight. Because what you had was a guy like Mayweather, who was, a mean boxer, very intelligent, but who was all about business, breaking you down, getting you out of there. Then you had Zab Judah, who was just reckless and just vicious and just didn't care and ignorant, And to bring those guys together, it was really one of those fights where people were split. Fans were really split on who they thought was going to actually win. And then you saw when that fight took place, you saw those first 4 or 5 rounds, you saw why they were split. Because Zab Judah got his respect from Mayweather. Now, that 5th round is where the tide started changing. And that's when Mayweather just started to break him down. And then, you saw Zab on occasion would land 1 or 2 shots, but for the most part, Mayweather took over around the end of that 5th round. And then it was on cruise control till about the 10th. And that's when, they had the melee in the ring, and all hell broke loose after Zab Judah hit Floyd Mayweather with an intentional low blow. And Roger jumped in the ring, and then, the damn circus ensued. But when you look at Crawford and Spence, I think we can equally say that. Now, I'm not up on this hip hop crap anymore. I'm telling you, man. I'm 47. But back when Mayweather and Judah fought, man, I was up on everything. But I'm telling you, so although I'm not up on this hip hop stuff right now, these young people, they're talking about it. I can just look from the comments that I get when I post a video on Terrence Crawford and Earl Spence. I can tell by some of the comments, most of the comments, that they're young people. I can tell. I can just look at the language, the horrible grammar, and the things they're saying. I'm like, yeah, this got to be young people, especially with all this the slang that's being used. And what I'm saying is not to down them. What I'm saying is that's a good thing, because that means in this generation, Spence and Crawford are having that same impact on the culture as far as this being a fight that, everybody wants to see. Now, I'm going to think and I will say for Judah and Mayweather, that was more, in my opinion, strictly for that urban crowd. You know what I'm saying? I would say for the knucklehead crowd. Did it have crossover appeal? Yes, it did. But I don't think it was where you saw a whole bunch of A-listers necessarily coming in there. You know what I'm saying? I remember looking out in that crowd. All you saw was hip-hop royalty. That's all you saw out there in the crowd. You know what I'm saying? When Zab Judah and Mayweather fought. Now, with Earl Spence and Terrence Crawford, a little bit different. I think definitely this has more crossover appeal than Mayweather and Judah. No doubt about that. The type of people we're going to see come to this fight are going to be A-listers, from the Hollywood and also from the hip hop world and in between. So maybe Mayweather and Judah paved the way for what we're going to see when Spence and Crawford get into the ring. Now, as far as Zab Judah being the vicious, ignorant, reckless, by any means necessary fighter, I can't really draw a parallel between his style and Crawford or Spence. But what I will tell you is both Spence and Crawford have that vicious, find a way to win style by all means necessary as well. Now, Mayweather, when you look at how he fights, the technician, breaks you down, very strategic, very intelligent, pinpoint accuracy. That's where I would say if I was able to draw a parallel between Mayweather and Spence or Crawford, I'd have to say Mayweather and Crawford. That's probably the parallel that I would draw. But at the end of the day, we're not taking anything from Earl Spence. Earl Spence, like Mayweather, has endless stamina. And that's the parallel that I can draw. Now, as far as viciousness and the mean streak in him, that's like Zab Judah had, that's Terrence Crawford all the way. Just mean. So when you see the fact that there's such a demand to see Crawford and Spence, it reminds me of the demand that we wanted with Mayweather and Judah. I remember when Judah went and fought Baldomir. I can remember this specifically. I was at home and the fight was going on. My boy Spoon, he was having a fight party at his house. I can't remember what I was doing, but I know I was at home. And I remember him calling me. And he was like, I'm going to say my real name. He was like, yo, this fool Zab Judah's about to get knocked out. Now, Spoon was from New York as well, right? And I was like, what do you mean? He's like, hey, this guy, Baldomir, he's like, he's busting his ass. I'm like, serious? And then I remember the next day, finding out Zab Judah lost. And I remember my mind was blown because I just didn't expect Zab Judah to lose to Baldomir. And anyway, the Zab Judah fight's the one that put Baldomir on the map. But Mayweather goes on and he beats Baldomir with no problem. So that just shows the difference in talent level between Mayweather and Judah. Plus, Judah wasn't taking training seriously. He didn't take the fight seriously. And he was having so much success in the beginning that him and his dad was in there laughing in the corner and acting the fool. And then Zab Judah got tired and Baldomir turned up the heat. But that being said, I remember like, damn, we're about to lose this fight between Mayweather and Judah. I think Judah was guaranteed a purse of like $5 million initially. Then it ended up dropping to like $1 million as a result of that loss. And then when you look at Earl Spence and Terrence Crawford, the fact that these guys were going back and forth and it looked like the fight, we weren't going to get the fight because negotiations fell apart. And everybody, that same kind of feeling that I felt with Zab Judah and Mayweather, like, man, this is crazy. This man lost to Baldomir. Now we're not going to see Mayweather and Judah. But, it came full circle. They got the fight in. They got the fight off. But you look at Crawford and Spence, the fact that the negotiations fell apart last year, kind of like, damn, here we go again. It's supposed to be a fight for the culture. We're not going to get it. But nobody took a loss. You got some inactivity on Earl Spence's part. Crawford did what he had to do to stay active. And now it looks like it's coming full circle, renegotiating the deal. And I don't know how the purse split's going to be, but very similar situation as Mayweather and Zab Judah, where a renegotiation had to take place. Same thing with Crawford and Spence, renegotiating. And obviously, the renegotiation has been going pretty well because they made significant progress. But that being said, let's not forget about how the impact when we get two fighters in their prime that the entire boxing community wants to see. Let's not forget how that can impact us, impact households. Because I can remember that fight. I remember it must have been like 40 of us at the house, man. Barbecue, like the whole day was just about the fight. From the time we woke up, went and washed our cars. Back then I used to drink. I don't drink anymore. Out there, man, drinking. I remember barbecuing, making rum punch. And the whole day was just leading up to that night in the fight. Everything we're doing that day, people going to the grocery store, people getting food, people barbecuing, mugs out there getting their hair cut, people out there getting brand new outfits. It was like, no kidding, like a damn show. And everybody was somewhere watching that damn fight. And I think it's going to be the same thing. And that's why I say when we talk about culturally, fights that can transcend boxing, man, I think that's what we're going to get with Errol Spence and Terrence Crawford. Now, I already said it's a 50-50 fight. A lot of people felt Zab Judah and Mayweather was a 50-50 fight. But at some point in the fight, somebody took over, and it was Mayweather. With Crawford and Spence, at some point in that fight, I think somebody's going to take over. I don't know who it's going to be. And that's what makes it interesting, just like that's what made it interesting with Zab Judah and Mayweather. No one really knew. You had Larry Merchant out here, and he was, giving his opinion. They basically were very disrespectful to Zab Judah, just basically calling him a thug. But that's how Zab Judah carried himself back then. Errol Spence and Terrence Crawford don't carry themselves as thugs, so they won't get described in that way. But what I will tell you is both of those guys are used to winning, and when they get in there and the fight gets tough, then we're going to really see what each of them are made of. That being said, y'all keep cool. I truly believe Crawford versus Spence is as important as Mayweather versus Judah was. And when we talk about culturally, I think when you look out into that audience, you're going to see so many different faces from so many different walks of life, from Hollywood to the regular blue collar worker, white collar worker, to the hip hop world, from the sports world. I think this fight is definitely going to bring out a little bit of everybody, well, a whole lot of everybody from a whole lot of different areas in life. And I am looking forward to it. That being said, y'all keep cool. Shout out to the veterans, all 7 continents. I'm in the breeze.